Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Chanel and I make videos all about motherhood and tips for new moms. So if that sounds like it interests you, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm sorry about this lighting situation. I'm sitting in front of the window and the sun keeps going behind clouds and whatever, so I hope that's not distracting. Today's video is all about my tips for new moms. Becoming a new mom is such a learning curve for everyone, and I just would like to give some tips and maybe help some of you guys out. Obviously, if you stumbled across this video, you're probably a new mom and you're probably looking for some tips. So hopefully this video helps you out. So the first tip that I have for you guys is to know your baby's sleepy and hunger cues. Obviously, newborns cannot communicate with us by telling us, hey mom, I'm hungry, hey mom, I'm tired. So they have their own little ways of doing that. Knowing these cues is the best way to kind of avoid a meltdown. So I'm just gonna mention a few of them, and I'm also gonna link below some articles that can tell you a little bit more about sleepy and hunger cues. So for hunger cues, when your baby starts turning their head and like kind of looking for the boob, that is a good cue to know that they're hungry. Also, they'll start like sucking on their hand or even licking their lips. It just kind of looks like they're looking for the boob or the bottle. That's a good indication of knowing when they're hungry. And for sleepy cues, their eyebrows will get a little red and they'll start rubbing their eyes or pulling on their ears. An even earlier cue is like a blank stare, like they'll just be like, so yeah. Those are good indications of knowing that your baby is tired. Also, you should check out Taking Care of Babies on Instagram. She has so many highlights and has so much good information about babies' sleepy cues and even their hunger and about sleep training in general if you're leaning towards doing that, which I did that and my baby slept for 12 hours at 4 months. So I thought I would recommend that as well. All right, and the second tip that I have for you guys is to invest in a velcro swaddle. The ones that I used are the Halo sleep sacks, and it's just really easy. You just zip it up and put their arms down and velcro them over each other, or velcro it over their arms. And that is so much easier than using a blanket, and I find it's a lot safer too, because when you use a swaddle blanket and you don't do it right or tight enough, your baby can wiggle out and escape and the blanket can get a little bit loose, and you don't want loose blankets around your baby's face when they're so little. So yeah, I highly recommend a velcro swaddle, or even I recommend bringing them to the hospital, because I didn't know about velcro swaddles really until I brought Daisy home, because in the hospital I would try swaddling her and her arms would just come out so easily. So yeah, it's not safe and it's not recommended, so I definitely recommend getting a velcro swaddle. My third tip for you guys is to use zipper sleepers. Those are so much better than snap up or button up sleepers, just because if your baby has to go to the washroom in the night or anything, you don't want to be like snapping up buttons in the dark when you're trying to change your baby, especially when they're like older and they start squirming around. It's just so much easier to zip them into their outfit than to try to mess around with buttons. So I recommend investing in zip up sleepers, and honestly with my next baby I think I'm only gonna go with zipper sleepers, because I did get gifted some button up sleepers, but it's just so inconvenient. Zipper sleepers are the way to go. And honestly, if you can, I know Carter's makes double zipper sleepers, so you can like zip up from the bottom, take their legs out and change their diaper without getting them cold on the top. I love those. If you plan on breastfeeding, I planned on breastfeeding, but my journey was cut a little short just because I had a lot of issues with it. I actually made a whole video about it and I'll link it in the cards somewhere. But anyways, that's not what my point is. So if you plan on breastfeeding, it can be kind of a hard journey. It can also be easy, but that's if you're lucky. But it can be kind of a hard journey to kind of navigate breastfeeding for the first time for you and for your baby. So I definitely recommend checking out some breastfeeding information sites before you give birth, or even talking to a lactation consultant, before you give birth. Also, when you're in the hospital, definitely really try to get the nurses to help you with breastfeeding if that's the way you want to go, because then when you get discharged and go home, it can be really confusing doing it by yourself. YouTube has a lot of information about breastfeeding and stuff like that. You just want to make it as easy as possible. Also, kind of going with the breastfeeding thing, I recommend having at least one small sample pack or bottle or whatever of formula, just in case. I ended up using it in like the second week of her life because I was having such a hard time with her latch. I wasn't sure she was getting enough food and she was losing weight. So I actually ended up supplementing her with formula. And I get that like some people don't want to use formula at all, but it's just good to be safe and make sure your baby is fed no matter what. Another tip that I have for you guys is to make meals ahead of time when it's getting close to your due date, or freezer meals, because when you have a newborn, like things can get a little out of hand and you don't really want to be cooking all the time. And honestly, you don't want to be taking time out of your day to go grocery shopping and to be cooking when you just want to be with your baby. And also, I would recommend maybe looking into a meal kit service. I actually used HelloFresh in the first 2 weeks when my baby was born, and it was so helpful. This is not sponsored at all, but I just honestly loved it. It was so easy, and it also helps because they're healthier meals, and even like meal prepping, it's healthier than ordering out like every day, because yeah, it can be a little overwhelming when you're having a baby. So just having easy meals ready to go is like the best. So if you're pregnant, I'm not sure, but maybe you were using like a pregnancy tracking app where you could see like the development of your baby in month to month. I definitely did, and it was like one of my favorite things to check when I was pregnant. They also have baby tracking apps, which I definitely think that they're so useful. My baby is 9 months old, and I still to this day use a baby tracking app for her like bottle feedings and her naps and everything like that. And it just like helps to know, oh, it's been 2.5 hours and I see my baby is smacking her lips a little bit, so I'm gonna go and make her a bottle, or I'm going to breastfeed her. I just think it makes your life so much easier to kind of keep track and know everything that's going on with your baby. Also, another app that I would recommend is the Wonder Weeks app, and it kind of tells you when your baby might be having a regression, which is like when their brain is developing a lot, so they have trouble sleeping and stuff like that. So it's kind of nice to have these apps to kind of help keep track on our baby's development and what they're doing throughout the day. Another tip that I have for you guys is if your baby is gassy, to kind of move their legs like this and push it into their tummy, and like a bicycle movement kind of thing, like that. That helps release gas, and it's really cute if you ask me. Also, another thing, if your baby is constipated, taking a wipe on your finger, this might be kind of gross, but it helps. Taking a wipe on your finger and rubbing their butthole helps release their bowels, so it actually helps them poo if they are constipated. And I've honestly never had to use gas drops or what is it called, gripe water or anything like that for my daughter, because that helped me with her gas. So thought I would share that little tip as well. While we're on the topic of baby poop, this is another really good tip. Meconium, which is the black tar sticky poo that newborns have, it is super sticky, and I remember at the hospital when my daughter had her first poo, we used so many wipes because it was just sticking to her legs. So a good tip is to use coconut oil. It helps break up the poo and like get it off super easily. And filling up like one of the Perry bottles from the hospital with some liquid coconut oil, or even just buying like the liquid coconut oil in like a little bottle and like pouring it on and then wiping, helps get the poo off right away and saves you a million wipes. So also, babies do not breathe through their mouths at all when they're little. They only breathe through their noses, and so having a humidifier in their room is almost a necessity, at least to me, because I live in Canada and it's really cold in winter, so we have the heat on a lot, which can really dry out your sinuses. And for babies, that can cause like blocked nasal passages, I guess, and have like crusty boogers. And having a humidifier really helps to like soften up the boogers and to get them out easier and so they can breathe better. So I highly recommend getting a humidifier for your baby when they're sleeping, or even for your room when they're little, you know, just to make sure that they are able to breathe. Also, I highly recommend the Nose Frida Snot Sucker. Highly recommend the Nose Frida Snot Sucker because it has like a little tube and you can just suck the boogies out, and it's way easier than using those little bulb things that you like pinch and try to get the boogers out. Okay, and the last tips I have for you guys is basically just knowing that newborn stage, like the first 3 months of the baby's life, is like the 4th trimester. Basically, they're very well, they're not underdeveloped, but they're like, they still need their parents a lot. So they always want to be close to their parents, and using a baby carrier is definitely going to help you guys out. Also, just it'll help to get things done around the house if you're trying to do that. Definitely try out a couple different kind of carriers. There are wrap carriers, which I honestly really loved when my baby was a newborn. And also there's like the backpack carriers that clip on, and those are easier to use if you're home alone. Also, going along with the 4th trimester kind of thing is use a sound machine, because a sound machine mimics the sound of the uterus and blood rushing, and it helps them to calm down and to fall asleep. So when a baby is swaddled and feels nice and cozy and has the sound machine on, it mimics the uterus and them when they were in the uterus. So it kind of helps to relax your baby and calm them down. So those are all of the tips that I have for new moms who are expecting a new baby or have a new baby and are looking for some little tips and tricks to kind of help your daily life be a little bit easier with a newborn, which that's what everybody wants. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you're looking for more tips and tricks for new moms or motherhood videos or things like that, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!